On the Patio, I'm Dean. And today, before I introduce our guests, our group, the men that you see on the screen, I want to take a moment to say once in a while you meet an artist, a band, a musician, maybe someone that you've worked with, maybe you become friends with. And sometimes you just don't have the opportunity to say thank you. You don't have the opportunity to do right by them because, as we know it, life goes 100 miles an hour. And with COVID, it's been very, very difficult to connect with people and be live in a music venue, any type of venue with other people. So as we introduce the people that we have in front of you today, I just wanted to say it's an honor and a privilege to do this today, to throw it back to these gentlemen and to introduce not only just the band, the Levin brothers, but individually, Tony Levin, Pete Levin, Jeff Siegel, Jeff Champa. And gentlemen, coming in from the upper east side of the United States towards the New York area, welcome to On the Patio.
Thanks, Dean.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's great to have all of you here today for taking the time out of your busy schedule, because we have a tour coming up in just over a week's time, starting out in New York's, well, not New York City, but close enough. We're coming up to the Falcon in Marlborough, New York on June 9th. And you're going to weave your way to Pennsylvania, to Delaware, back to Pennsylvania, New York, and we finish off at Woodstock in New York on the 26th of June. And we also have a new CD coming out live at Daryl's house that was recorded last January. And thought we could have a moment to speak about your tour, what it means to come out of being in hibernation, and the new CD.
Dean, I think you said it very succinctly. That we're coming out of over a year of hibernation. The last time we were in a room together was January 26th at Daryl's house, where we were fortunate to be able to record that concert, which is now being released as a CD. And it's been nothing, no playing at home, recording tracks for people at home. But that's been about it. So a dry period that we never could have imagined was coming. So we're really happy to be getting back out there and playing. The four of us as a group, but just getting out and playing, that's what we do. And it's great to be back, great to be coming back.
Having said that, we have been rehearsing a lot and added different material to our show this year than we did last year, which is good to keep things moving. I suppose we've been practicing a little bit, although we don't talk about that much. And here's a call for more shows on the tour right now. No. Yeah. How about you, Jeff? Either Jeff,
Sorry.
what do you guys have to say about our tour?
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. There's nothing like being able to play a series of shows, for an audience, and especially with these guys. So I've really missed that this past year. And it's a rare opportunity to be able to do this now at this point, because I don't really know. I haven't heard about many bands touring at this time. That's for sure.
Most of the people I know do most of their work in Europe, and there's nothing. Nothing is happening in Europe. So I'm extremely grateful to be able to do this, as you said, with these guys, with you guys. This is the first time I've ever come out of a pandemic to start touring. So this is all really new. So be interesting to see what happens. But we have been rehearsing a lot, and it's starting to feel really good. So I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, next rehearsal, it'll really all be okay, right? I keep telling myself that. Only one more rehearsal and we've got it. We'll nail it.
Speaking of rehearsals, who brought the bagels?
Yeah. It's weird seeing you guys without bagels and whitefish.
There seems to be a theme to our rehearsals, the bagel theme, both in jokes and in food. And we had hoped to, originally, this tour came about because we got actually a call from a venue we played last year, asking us to come back. And we were like, in June, we were like, really? This is quite a while ago when nobody was able to book shows. And so we said, sure, we could do that. And we, as you do, we tried to add to the tour, add a few dates. was difficult at first, and then things sort of opened up a little bit. So we were able to add what 7 more shows, I think, and not as many as we would like to. Of course, we would like to tour all summer, but because of it, the nature of it all coming up at the last minute, we booked a lot of shows in June, and then we'll see where it goes after that. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be great for us to be back doing what we love to do, playing live music, and it'll be great to be sharing with those audiences who can come out to those clubs, some theaters, some jazz clubs. It'll be great to share the experience. I don't need to tell the listeners. We're all missing the experience of live music. Is very special to us. And yay, June 9th, we start doing it again.
It's a that's a
Good.
milestone, and congratulations to all of you for forging ahead and being so I guess you could say aggressive to book a show and to keep into purview the safety factor and the fact that the fans and the listeners and the followers are eager to get out and enjoy live music, but also be safe at the same time, and on both sides of the fence. So I'm very grateful that you folks have decided to do this, and you do have the 8 dates, and more will come. I'm positive more will come.
I think for us, and I'm sure for all the people that are coming to see us, there's really a feeling of having survived the pandemic, and we're coming out of it. We're getting back to what we love to do. Everybody we run into, we're going to have contact with, will have the same thing, getting back to their lives, the things that they enjoy. And as we're saying, this is something that we enjoy. This is our lives. This is what we do. So,
No, absolutely, Pete. I couldn't agree more, and I can attest to watching you folks perform live. There's nothing like it, and for musicians that have been at this for 50 plus years collectively, I don't know how many decades there would be if you put all the numbers together between the 4 of you.
We don't want to know.
That's a lot.
Hundreds
That's
of
right.
years.
That's a lot of music.
just look at the time. Oh my goodness.
Still can't get it right.
Yeah, really.
That's
Next
all.
year, I'm really going to nail it.
Yeah.
That's your wheelhouse. Of course, session and recording work is part of the game, but going and touring and supporting an album or an EP and LP, whatever the case may be, the live shows, all of you folks know, and being forced to go into the pits while the track is cold. It's nice to see that you're getting back, and the tires are warm, and we're going to see some live music from the Levin brothers and the likes of the CD. And I'd like to talk about that for a moment. Obviously, that's the live concert that was recorded last January at Daryl's house in New York, and Jeff Siegel has that in his hands. Tony and Pete, will we be able to get that at the shows, and also will you be making that available online for people that are across the country or perhaps around the world?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's a limited edition only for people at the shows. We weren't able to print up a lot of them. It's really special, and we worked hard on getting it right. And it is the show that we were doing last year. It was a wonderful show, but they're only enough for the tour. If the tour gets extended, there can be a few more, but it'll be a limited edition collector's item.
That'll be fantastic. So everybody that's available to catch the dates that the Levin brothers are going to execute here in just over a week's time, we're going to post that tour poster as well. But there's some great opportunities not only to see the live show, but also pick up that CD and meet these fine gentlemen as well, and have a great experience of the Levin brothers and their music. Just you
Thanks.
will not. The only bad part about an experience or a concert that you folks give is when it ends. That's the only bummer. That's the downfall is the ending.
Actually, you know what? People all over the world could get if they want. But I think we have an appropriate name of our tour. Every tour, we did a tour, was it last year, called Snow Tires Tour, but that was a January tour. This one's called Vaccinating Rhythm Tour. And we have had a t-shirt made up for that, and that one is online. We had more made than will be needed for the tour.
Great.
So that's the first thing about it. You got the music you got to work out, but you got to have a good tour name to make it feel right.
Sure.
So, vaccinating rhythm it is.
Qualifying the snow tire tour, with like idiots in December and January, we went to upstate New York and up into Canada, uh, all in a van, in a big van, with no snow tires.
With bald tires.
We could have
All tires, yes.
Who planned this? Whose idea was
Bald.
this?
Well,
I think they were
the ball
14
thing, the ball thing is the theme. So
I think there were 14 shows and 16 stops in auto mechanic places to get tires replaced.
Sure.
We replaced tires twice on that tour.
I believe it. I believe it. Well, and now we're coming into summer, and hopefully things will be much more conducive for road conditions, and people are just absolutely eager to be seeing live music. And I know the weather is ideal there. It's been raining out your way, but hopefully in the next several weeks it'll be ideal for people to come out and enjoy a show, and you folks will be able to get back to what you enjoy. And I know live music is in your blood, and it's very good that that keeps pumping. And this new CD is going to be just absolutely incredible to enjoy and to capture. So that's great.
I think about the snow tires tour. Every tour in a way has its challenges. Nothing you can do about that. And indeed, on that tour, it was, can we get to the show, and can we make it through the blizzard that's predicted? There were a couple of blizzards. On this tour, it's different, and we've yet to face the challenge of it's been a year and a half.
Yes.
Yeah, it was literally exactly a year and a half of not doing live shows, even though we've been rehearsing, practicing. It's not the same. We'll be able to detail it after it happens, but the endurance takes a certain kind of stamina to drive in the van and check into hotels and then do your gig and then be at your best for those 2 hours or 3 hours every evening. And we can do that, and we've been doing that a long time, but we haven't done it in a long time. So there's a bit of that, not worry, but a little bit of that, like, well, let's see what it's like to actually. You mean I won't be able to take my daily nap at 4 p.m. after sound check? I'll actually have to stay awake for the rest of the day.
Sure.
And,
Sure.
been going to bed. I've been going to bed about 9:30 p.m., which is about probably when our shows will start, and things like that.
No, it's been a big change in everyone's schedules and routines. I know a lot of musicians are, out of sorts because everyone's had to change their daily lives and getting acclimated to it, being hibernated or, sequestered, if you will, or quarantined. Uh, are some of the shows, gentlemen, going to be live streamed at all? Do we have an idea if that's going to take place for the people that can't come to the shows in person?
Yeah.
I know for sure the end of the tour, the Bearsville Theater in Woodstock is being live streamed.
Okay.
And I think one of the others, I can't remember.
I think maybe Daryl's house, where it all started, where the album was made, and definitely Sellersville Theater, our second show.
Great.
All right.
People who don't do this would assume that we in the band know all the details about the production and what the load in will be like, whether there'll be people to help load in, and what time the show is, whether autographs will be allowed at the merchandise table after. We don't know any of that. Somebody knows. We're not sure who knows, and we'll find out before the first show.
Sure.
Or each show. But it's sometimes it's surprising to people who haven't done it how little the band knows about the details of what's actually going to happen. We know the set we're going to play. We know the songs we're going to do. That's our job. And sometimes we're all different about it, but sometimes we neglect it a bit and don't actually care. And then you get there and you realize, oh, we're not supposed to be here for 2 more hours. Let's go check into the hotel and stuff like that.
Sure.
So there's at least in my case, there's a lot of ignorance mixed in with the professionalism of playing the show. And it is true that the main thing to all of us is playing a good show and getting the music happening. And we'll find out the details later.
No, of course. And be on notice, everybody, that to the best of our ability here, with everyone on the patio. We will post and update anything that we run across or get announcements or confirmations from the Levin brothers for any particular details that might change.
Thank you. Actually, we can, knowing, having asked that question, a very smart question that didn't occur to me at all. I'll find out in the next couple of days which shows will be live streamed, and I'll get that information to you, especially where you can see it. Yeah.
No, absolutely, Tony, because I know
people
are very hungry to follow you folks, even if they can't physically come. They can follow you folks on a live stream, and I know on a personal level, being able to see and feel that vibe of your music, it is not the same sometimes, you know, over an internet connection, but it's the next best thing. And I know people want to support you. I know a lot of people that are very hungry to see you folks perform again, and I know that feeds in two different directions, and that's why I asked. And I think the professionalism goes without saying for all of you, the pedigree of each and every one of you that have come to this point and to weather the storm, no pun intended, for last year's weather conditions. And you know, most people would say, yeah, forget it, I'm not going to risk it. But no, you have a bigger cause, and music is that. So,
you know what I would enjoy? Can we take a minute? And I would like to hear each of the Jeffs give the listeners a little synopsis of what they've done, what they're doing, and who they played with, and stuff like that. Could we do that? Because
absolutely,
I know, but I don't think the listeners all know that.
No, that'd be great. We'll start with our cigar smoking aficionado here.
You want to stop me from
Patio.
smoking?
Yes, I've done the homework, and I've watched you quite a bit, Jeff, and I don't want to sound like a fanboy. Oops, too late. But I know that Dave Matthews and Mr. Belafonte and the others have had the pleasure of you being at the helm of that guitar. But I would wish for you to take the lead here and honor Tony's wishes, and please, you have the comms to brag, please.
Okay. Well, I'm not a very good bragger, but I've been clawing my way to the bottom for the last 40, 50 years in the New York area, and trying to play with as many people as I can. About 25 years ago, I met Mark Egan, and Mark and I developed a great relationship, and I did a couple of records with him on his label, Wavetone Records. Did 2 records with Mark, with Danny Gottlieb on drums. It was the Pat Metheny rhythm section, so I was real nervous at first, because these guys, well, like everyone else, it's play with everybody, but people that I really respected. So that was a lot of fun. And I played with a lot of people. I met Pete, 40 years ago at Gramavision Records, when Pete had a record deal with Gramavision. And I was playing on a record with Al McDowell, bassist with Ornette Coleman. And so I've known Pete for that long. Tony, I just met in 16, I think, when we did the Mobius record. And Jeff, I think we met, I don't know, 15 years ago on a gig. But yeah, that's me.
That's a strong run there, Jeff. Thank you very much for sharing. And I know it's hard for some musicians and artists to sit there at a moment's notice and run down the list, if you will, or the stages you've lit up. And we certainly appreciate the hard yards that you've put into your craft, and the people that you've performed and supported, and being in the company of the Levin brothers, not because of who they've been playing with or what they stand for, you know, off the stage only, but for the fact that there is a sense of family. And I know there's a cheeky sense of humor amongst all of you, and that bond, if you will, that vibe. It's the hang sometimes. You couldn't survive in a van on 3 dates, let alone 9 or 8 or 10, if you didn't have that hang or the ability to get along and create something that's magical.
As long as they don't smoke those things in the van, that's okay.
I'll open the window.
There you go.
And we'll move over to Jeff Siegel, who I've had the privilege and pleasure of getting to know for the last several years. And I know it's difficult for him as well to sit on the soapbox and get the bullhorn and start rolling down the list. But obviously, Jeff, you have a similar pedigree of not only just performing and recording, but also being a music educator as well. And so if you could touch upon, your list, if you will, your grocery list, that'd be a great privilege, please.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, let's see. When I first came to New York in 1980, I started working with a great multi-instrumentalist named Arthur Rames. Um, and then eventually had a group with a friend of mine, pianist John Esposito, with a great trumpeter Dave Douglas, called Second Sight, and eventually had different trios of my own, cooperative groups, and eventually I was working with Sir Roland Hanna, great jazz pianist, and then about 14 or 15 years with a wonderful pianist who lived in this area named Lee Shaw, and having my own groups, along the way and things like that, and various one-offs and whatever, several gigs with other folks, many folks along the way, of course. It adds up over many years, that's for sure.
Can I just
wonderful.
ask, were you in the lockdown year? You were pretty both of you guys pretty busy teaching anyway, as you usually do, right? Am I right
Yeah.
about that?
I teach at 3 universities, the New School in New York City and Western Connecticut State University, SUNY New Paltz, and they all went online, which for me, I mean, that was like a godsend that I could be able to keep working as a teacher, even though I couldn't play gigs. I mean, I know Pete and I played a few outdoor gigs, and when the weather was conducive, but other than that, there was no playing for months and months, and so. I mean, that was a challenge teaching online, particularly like a jazz ensemble and learning a lot about technology. I mean, you know, I could barely plug in a light bulb, prior to this past year. So I've learned quite a bit. Now I think I can plug the light bulb in. And yeah.
And Jeff Champa teaches both guitar playing and cigar smoking, if I'm not wrong.
Mostly
Which,
cigar smoking, cigar choice. I taught throughout the whole thing. When everything shut down in March, I went Zoom. That was pretty awful. It just, I even started a young 11-year-old, I think, for the first time, first lesson online without being there to touch and show in person. It was really difficult, and I don't advise. I don't advise. That's a good way to start an instrument. But I still have maybe 8, 10 students a week. They all come to my house. I teach only at home.
I see.
I've done that for years.
That's wonderful to put it back. I know that learning an instrument with the best ability and passion is challenging, and you take the human connection form, being in person, out of that equation, it is a challenge. It's just not the same.
Mhm.
So, oh, it's great that you both had the ability to keep that platform of teaching and educating alive. And for you, Pete and Tony, I know there's a few followers or listeners that might not know the genres or the groups and the artists that you've, supported, or the bands that you've had yourself and still have. Pete, if you wouldn't mind, we'll let you have the mic for a moment. And I know your history goes back a ways. I know you have a pedigree that stands long past what we have time for today. And same for Tony.
Sam, an old guy. That's what he's saying.
That's okay. That's a great thing to brag about, because you've made it through this industry when the industry was welcoming with open arms, and then not so well over the years with the way things have changed, and you've weathered that storm as well, and you've made it many times over. So yeah, I will tell you, yeah, that's a good thing to brag about, having that veteran jacket to wear of being a working musician, and the people you've worked with and supported, and working with your brother. What an honor that is, you know. But
It's pretty special. Yeah.
yeah, it is. It really is. It's an amazing journey, and I think that's the importance of today's show, is to talk about the people. The on the patio format is really about the people, not necessarily about the fame and the fortune. It's about the family, the kinship, the relationship, the kindness. Spread that around a little bit. Get that out on the news. But
That was the root of this project, which goes back to 2014. Tony and I have been uh, professional sidemen for decades, literally for decades. There's such a long list of people I, that I've contributed somehow, to their careers, to their recordings, to their live performances. I mean, it's a ridiculously long list. Uh, some people I played in the recordings and I never met the artist. Then there are others like Gil Evans, that I was in his band and toured all over the world with him for 16 years. Jimmy Jufrey was 8 years. Uh, Paul Simon, Annie Lennox. There's so many things like that, but mostly I'm a sideman. Uh, Tony was doing the same thing in parallel. He worked with mainly with pop groups, where I was doing more jazz things, and much higher profile bands and artists. But through all these years, I think it was Tony brought up the idea initially in 2014 that we'd never done anything together. We played on each other's albums, played in each other's bands. Uh, we never started a project from scratch. Say, let's do something. Jazz group. So, and we did. We came up with the theme of it. But although I think Tony originated the theme initially, which is to make it 50s style cool jazz. We slipped into the genre. We wore suits and ties all the time, even when we were recording, which was kind of silly, but we did. And we wrote some original music. We played some old jazz standards. We went out and performed. We toured with Jeff Siegel was in it from the beginning. We wore suits and ties when we played. I bought a pork pie hat to wear, and we kept that up for a while. The band has morphed since then, but it was a special thing for me to do the project with Tony, to work with him, develop our own thing, not something we're going to get rich doing, but it's very satisfying, very fulfilling in its own way. And right now, it's keeping us busy. God, we're wall to wall this month.
yeah, that's great.
And I would add that we have a lot of respect for the two Jeffs and these guys, and we feel good about our music that we make as a quartet and the actual style. It's still a jazz band as it was when we formed it a few years ago, but the style of jazz has not only changed, but the scope of on this tour we'll be doing some brand new pieces, some older pieces that nobody's heard live ever,
Right.
of Pete's, a couple of covers, unusual ones, perhaps a classical cover or two, and so we're featuring uh, a little bit of a broad selection of music that we feel still sounds like us, and we feel good about the band. And Dean, I want to thank you for having us, and all your compliments are embarrass me a little bit, but you're very kind. It was great playing the show for you back a few years ago, and it's very nice of you to have us on and give us the chance to talk about our music.
No, Tony, Pete, Jeff, and Jeff. No, the honor's mine. And Tony, it's very sincerely meant. You can be an A-list artist, musician, band, and not have a following because of the rudeness or the arrogance, if you will, or not taking the time to realize that your platform is only as strong as you allow your fans or your followers to be, by having that generosity, that kindness. And I don't think, sir, you would have been with Mr. Gabriel since day one and King Crimson and otherwise if it wasn't for that attitude or that personality. All of you possess that, and that was the whole purpose and the motive, the agenda today, to have you on the patio. And with that being said, I do want to thank each and every one of you. Tony, Pete, Jeff.
Thank you, Dean.
Jeff, thank you. PeteLevin.com, TonyLevin.com. You can go to thelevinbrothers.com for all tour information. We will update some of our progress with this episode as it gets aired in a few days. with any live stream information or anything that Tony and Pete and Jeff send our way. We will update it and make an addendum to today's piece.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been
Thank you, Dean.
part of
Thanks,
a great
Dean.
project today. You're welcome.
Thanks.
On the patio with the Levin brothers, Tony Levin, Pete Levin, Jeff Siegel, Jeff Champa. Gentlemen, all the best on your tour. All the best for success, for continued success. And thank you very much for the kindness. That's what's important.
A pleasure, Dean. There's only
Thanks
to
for
mention
having us.
that it's guys like you, people like you, doing what you're doing right now, that helping keep the music alive, and we appreciate it very much.
Great
Thank you.
honor, Pete. Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you for joining On the Patio.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.